Hey folks, Malcolm here. I'm getting ready to play in the North American Corporate Chess League, which is pretty exciting. As some of you may know, I work for Google, and we've put together a team. I think I'm on team 3 for Google. It's not based on ELO or anything. It's just how people happen to sign up. And I'm really looking forward to it. I played in this back in season 2. Don't have any videos on it or anything, so this is the first time you guys will get to see what it's like of me playing online chess. But yeah, it's going to be great. Let's take a little bit of a look so you guys can understand what the format looks like and everything. I know the screen's a little bit wonky, but I think if I move this, let's do this. And then I've got it set up for the games. That's the important part that counts. So the format, as I'm sure you can see, is there's a flyer here. If you go to nhcorporatechess.com, it'll show you. It's a season is 6 weeks long and 2 games played per week, so you get to play 12 games. And it's played on leechess.org. Pairings get posted, and we'll click on it, so you guys will get to see me do that. And the time control is 15 plus 5. And like it's like a team event, but it's not like team A plays team B. It's like each individual ends up playing somebody that's like sort of similar to their ELO or something like that. And so it does some blended weighting of what your ELO is and what your score is in order to determine where you should be. But they do decide what your ELO is based upon what your actual USCF rating is. So right now, I think my USCF rating is still officially 1112, even though it actually is bumped up to 1161 at this point. And then, like, based on that, your team scores determine how you did. I think Google, the last time I played, Google won, and I actually ended up scoring a fair number of points. And so games are at 8 and 8:45 Eastern time, so for me, 5 p.m. And then there's some prizes and blah, 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 blah. Unfortunately, I'm just above 1100, so I don't get that. I don't get the unrated stuff either, so I've got to shoot for the under 1700 prizes. But, yeah, we'll see how it goes. And then there are weekly lectures by Daniel Naroditsky, which is pretty cool. I think I just got a little thing, because if we look at the pairings for round 1 are up. So let's see who it is that we're playing. So if I control F for Malcolm, I get to play white against Reed Champlin. From Arthur AI. I don't know where that is, but that's cool. So if I click here to play, it takes me to Lichess. Let's close our other Lichess. And so now we chill out. As you guys can see, I'm rated 1791 on Lichess. This person has no games on Lichess and is otherwise unrated. So we might be about to get rocked here. Yeah, well, we can actually even pre-move our first move. For white, we know we're playing E4. But the timer doesn't start yet. Interesting. I could have played that a while ago. And fire is online. All right, King's Gambit. Here we go. You love to see it. You love to see it. Oh, we're started early. That can't be right. Don't we just take? Then they take here. So I think we can just play knight c3 if we want. Knight c3 to defend the pawn. If they take here, then we're just in a totally normal position. Knight c3 seems fine. Okay, now do I take this pawn? No, then knight takes. This treatment's a little weird. So now that this knight is here, we probably don't want to play bishop c4. So let's go ahead and play bishop, knight f3. They can take here whenever they want, and we get to play d4. So now we can takes, play d4. Play takes, knight takes, knight takes, queen takes. Doesn't quite work. I know that playing this is not a good move. We can play h3 now if we want to. We could play d3, just kind of getting like a regular setup. A temptation actually is to play a3, so when we play here, if the knight comes, we can just drop it back to a2 and sit on this pawn. We expect this sort of like meek development from our opponent. Okay, let's we do want this bishop out here. Let's go ahead and play a3. A cryptic move, but we're setting up. It's probably not as energetic as we want to be, but I want to play here, here, and there. I see. So this appears to be fine now. Knight takes, queen takes. Yeah, he's preventing me from playing here. I can take with this pawn because again, the queen it can't go there. Here, knight takes. Here. Yeah, and if the queen ever does move, then we have this. Takes. We just play d3. takes, queen takes, knight takes. It's like a little awkward. We're losing some of what we would expect there. Yeah, d3 locks our bishop in, which is kind of sad. But it might be something that we have to play. Let's go ahead and play d3, and if they get this central clamp, I think we're all right, actually. This is a weird position. I'm glad that we're using our time, though. And again, who knows? Maybe this opponent's super duper good. Maybe they're terrible. That's an interesting move. So now why can't I play knight takes? Knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes. Can I play pawn here? I feel like I can just take this pawn. Right? I can also play here when the time is right. I still have threats of this. My opponent wants to castle. Ah, they moved this out so they can get their bishop out. That's why they played here. Well, let's go ahead and question this knight. Knight takes, knight takes. So we can't do that. This knight's got to go somewhere. And once it goes somewhere, then we can play e takes d5 as well. Although we do have to be careful to defend this square. Here, bishop check. We also have the knight thing here. Can try and go there. Go here. And when this comes... Here, bishop check, we just step over, which I think we're actually okay with. Here, knight here, and we can just play rook g1, no problem. Yeah, I think queen e2 is our best move here. And we'll just accept the fact that if this comes, we won't be castling, but that's actually totally fine. Now that's a weird move. That's a move that I don't understand. Oh, they want to go here. Interesting. I think I'd like to start by playing here, though. Just get this monster center. In fact, actually, we might want to play knight takes, because then we can play bishop here. Then bishop takes, knight takes, queen takes, and we're fine. So I think I will take this pawn with my knight to defend this square. This is so weird. This a3 move is actually saving us a fair amount, which is kind of nice. Okay, these are taken. These are taken. So I think we play knight takes here. This check comes. We play king h1. This check comes. To like step up. This position has gotten spicy. Now can we sack here to then get what we want? Not quite, because the bishop defends the knight. Okay, let's keep taking our time. We're up a couple of pawns. If we can just get castled, we'll be fine. Don't lose our queen. Can't go here, here. Can't go here, here. If we go here, then maybe takes and takes, actually. Huh. Go here. This can come. Yeah, queen d2 seems good. That says queen d1, but queen d2 I think is probably the right move. Now we're not, like, there's no threat of him going here. So yeah, let's go queen d2. And if knight takes, we can just play pawn takes. I'm happy to jettison this pawn, actually. That's totally okay. And then we play bishop here to defend there. We can eventually get our rook to the f-file. He can push c3 when the time comes. This is such a weird position. Now his king is safer than mine, but and he does have a lot of active minor pieces, but I am up material. This is like the opposite of what I want. Take here. Am I missing something? Can't I just play rook here? I don't see why I can't just play rook there. That move looks slick and all, but like this doesn't do anything. This doesn't really do anything. Then I can just go here. The other thing I can do is I can just play D4. Bishop takes, queen takes. Knight takes. No, I want to play rook G1. Position is a little tangled. Little tangled. A small amount tangled. Yeah, here we have to be careful because there are discoveries. So at that point we do have to play. Here and takes? No thanks. Could play here. Yeah, now severing the connection works because my rook's not hanging. My opponent's playing really fast. Back up. I'd like your knight, please. Probably he's going to play knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, and we have to move this knight somewhere. Or we could just do this. Accept the queen trade, be up material. We're already up material. We have a really strong pawn center as well. What a tricky move. But not tricky enough. Queen here is still annoying, but we always have rook g3. Covering up. Yeah. Knight takes, queen takes, queen takes. Amen. Stressful, stressful, stressful. Bishop here, castle's queenside, GG. Right? In fact, we even have this, but that knight was a thorn. You're not going to take your... You're not going to save your bishop? Okay, well now we're up a lot of material. And we can play something like this. Oh. Okay, okay, okay. So there's the question. If I play here, can't play pawn takes, can't play queen takes. If you play pawn push, then I go here. And if you do nothing, then I'm checking here. And then that doesn't like quite lead to a mate, but it's pretty close. Because then I can play something like this and castle. So I think I will play that. If here, then I can just play rook takes. Or pawn takes, like it doesn't really matter. Weird how safe my king is in the middle of this board. Rook takes check. You go to the corner. I can do this, or I can do this. In fact, I might want to go here so I can go like this. But no, let's play principally. Let's go here, and then we can castle queenside. Might want to take here first, actually. Although we do have to be careful about one of these boys coming. Yeah, maybe my king just sits in the center. Let's go here. And go there. Actually, we could just threaten going here and there. That's good, that's good, that's good. Check, here. So now isn't this mate, though? Right? Yeah. That was fun. That was really stressful. It's always stressful. Let's go to the analysis board really quick. See what we see. Request a computer analysis. And maybe if I find some time, I'll do a more serious thing. Oh, we were boned in the middle there. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, King's Gambit, fine. Yo. 1 second. I gotta mess with the settings here. Show me this. Okay. Here. This. Wanted him to play d4 right away. Knight c6. So now I'm +2 and I should just take the pawn, but I don't know that yet. Here. It does. I never understand in these positions where this is like this. I'm supposed to play d4. But, you know, we'll figure it out. Okay, I play a3, which, inaccuracy. d5, inaccuracy. It wants me to take the d-pawn. Interestingly, d3. Wasted move. Yeah, I was expecting d4. Bishop c5 here. Knight g4. So going to play knight takes d5, which I refrained from doing for a little bit, right? Yeah. Queen e2. Now it wants bishop f2 check, and it's just like, your king sucks. And now it wants me to play bishop g5. That's kind of surprising. Knight takes d5 is fine. Knight e4 is best. Queen d2? Really? So knight takes here. Oh, and then I guess here. Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, and then he's supposed to play queen check. And I go here. Then he checks me with the knight. And either like enter a windmill. I guess I could step up at first. But oh, bad. Knight f2. Okay. Rook g1 is fine. Bishop, yeah, here, there. Yeah. Now it's pretty happy. It wants me to play f6. It's telling him to sack its queen. He doesn't. It's mate in 5 here. Rook takes a... Oh, it wants... Ah. It wants rook takes a7. King takes here, 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 here. Got it. Okay. Bishop d3, which is still a mate in 6, so totally fine. Rook g1, and then he gets mated. Okay, good move, good move, good move. And if we refresh the pairings page, does it show? So if we go to Malcolm deck and we move this on the screen so that you guys can see, it does show completed 1-0. You'll love to see it. Okay, so good first game. All right, I'll see you guys in the next round. All right, so now let's take a little bit more of a formal look at this relatively short game in the first round of the North American Corporate Chess League. So we played e4, our opponent plays e5, we play f4, and our opponent does not take, they play knight f6. Now, what the computer is going to say is best here is to play takes, allow this takes to happen, and then play something like knight f3, just ignore the fact that this knight is here because it can't retreat there or there. But according to the line that you see from the computer here, so then you see d4, then you see this, you see takes en passant, you see knight takes, and so like this is the position that you end up with, and it's relatively equal. I don't love it. Now, in this position, why you would play d4 instead of something like d3, I'm not entirely sure. You could play something like bishop e2, but like, why don't you just kick this knight? Knight g5, takes. Now his queen is out. I've got to figure out how to defend this pawn, and you know, the answer is maybe something like this, but it's not. I can see why this is not the favorite position here. Anyways, taking that pawn immediately is something which, in theory, is slightly better for the computer, but it leads to a pretty boring position because you trade off some of the material. So I just let the tension sit, knight c3. This is apparently pretty normal. This is the Vienna game, the Falkbeer Vienna counter gambit. Interestingly enough. Anyways, I play knight c3. My opponent plays knight c6. And at this point, I think this is the beginning of a series of moves where taking this pawn is appropriate. You know, you see here, and then now you can play d4, and your opponent doesn't have time to do good stuff. So, for example, your opponent can play here, and you get to sort of just continue to push forward. Your opponent can't go here because the knight is defending there. The opponent can't go here because the queen is defending there. So their only choice is to play knight g8. This is obviously bad. And it actually doesn't change, you know, even if the knight goes back here, the same thing is true. Knight g8 is the only move. So this is the first time when I should have played f takes e5, but not the biggest deal in the world. Knight f3 is the second best move. And our opponent plays d6. And the computer here is telling us to play d4. It also says bishop b5 is okay. You can sort of pin this knight and then threaten to take this pawn. But d4 immediately, the thing I was always worried about is like, what happens if you play e takes d4, knight takes, queen takes, and apparently this is better for white. You have this strong center, you have two pieces developed to one, but it is black's move. Apparently the best move here is c6, which is always surprising to me, but is apparently relatively common. You could also see something like bishop e7 and b3. Okay, all right. Apparently this is a small advantage. A3, I think, is probably the wrong treatment of the position. I think taking in this position is, yeah, apparently not the best. Now things are like really symmetrical and balanced, and this is, you know, you can play something like bishop b5, but then, you know, what happens if you see something symmetric like this, right? Takes, and then it's white moves again. You know, maybe you get to castle, but it's not. This is not the greatest position in the world. You still aren't getting the attacking chess that you want. So a3, while not like the best move in the world, the things that the computers think are the best in this position lead to like relatively draws positions. I feel like a3, we played it with the plan to be able to get this bishop out to c4, and so like I understand what I was thinking there. It's totally fine. Apparently, like the major problem with this is the fact that our opponent could sink their knight into d4, which we eventually do get to see, and potentially induce some trades. But you know, that's okay. Our opponent does not capitalize. Instead, our opponent plays d5, sort of moving and then moving again on consecutive moves. You'll see if we go back here, they play d6, we play something, and then they play d5. So here again, I play d3. Now the best play here is takes, and then, oh no, that's not quite right. Takes. We leave this alone and we play f takes e5. Obviously can't play knight takes because then knight will take. And if you take here, here, and here, this is better for white. We're just up a pawn, right? We have 4 on this side, our opponent has 3. We have 3 on this side, our opponent has 3. And this pawn, despite the fact that it's isolated, it's pretty hard for our opponent to take. It's, you know, finding a way to get the bishop around to a position where it can attack that pawn is pretty hard. Anyways, we play d3 here, which is fine. And our opponent plays bishop c5. So they're trying to get out. They're trying to get ready to castle. And at this point, we finally do play f takes e5, which is the correct move. It's been the correct move for a while, with the exception of when playing e takes d5 is correct. And this is better for white. And our opponent plays knight g4. And so now the best move in the position is actually d4. The next best move in the position is knight takes d5. But d4 immediately, even if Suiti takes, and takes, then we get to take here. So obviously that doesn't quite work. So in this position, our opponent taking here and here just doesn't work, right? We're up a minor piece here. So even before, we're up a minor piece in this position, but this actually works out okay because of d takes e4, and then bishop b5 check. We play here. Apparently knight takes c6. Brutal. Yikes. Okay, so why is this fine? So d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, d takes e4, check, c6, knight takes c6, queen takes d1 check, king takes d1, a6. Complicated. And so we still have 4 minor pieces to 2 right now. We both have 2 rooks. So how am I going to be able to save? So bishop a4, knight f2 check. Ah, it's because they're winning the exchange here. King e2, bishop g4 check, king f1, b5. Man, they're throwing in all these in-between moves. Rook c8, knight b4. This is a wild line. This is not particularly instructive. At this point, we're just looking at this crazy, super long computer line where apparently this is okay for black because they're going to be winning this exchange at some point. Actually, I think they're just winning a rook. So we have 4 minor pieces. So if we just see the takes here, then we see knight takes here. And so now it's what? 4 minor pieces versus 3 minor pieces, and 1 rook versus 2 rooks. We have 6 pawns. They have 5 pawns. And this is apparently slightly better for white. Nonetheless, I did not play d4. I played queen e2, as we saw. Apparently something like queen e1 would have been better, but what do you know? Apparently the best thing here is this bishop f2 check. My opponent does not play that. They play b5, which is a move. I have no clue what b5 does as a move. Bishop g5 is apparently the best because if the pawn push takes. Yeah. So if we go here, what happens if pawn push? Yeah, e takes, g takes. Sorry. Takes with check. Aha. So you can't take this. And then something like king f7. h3. Takes. It is wild. The whole position's wild. Nobody knows what's going on here. Anyways, our opponent plays b5. We play knight takes d5, which we should have played earlier. And our opponent plays knight d4. Now, something that I looked at is I saw here, and I was like, okay, well, that's how am I stopping something like this? That's what's happening there? And the answer is I'm probably not. I mean, I can play something like c3, so the bishop has to back up, and then I can play c4, and then I'm just obviously hugely ahead here. What was I can't even remember what I was afraid of, but you can go back to that point in the video if you want. But yeah, this would have been best. But I did not play that, and instead I played queen d2. Was I afraid because takes, and then... Oh, this bishop's over here, so maybe I was afraid of a check that wasn't coming, or something like queen a4. But even in this position, that doesn't work, because the queen just has to go back. Like, this is... Nothing's happening here. Okay, fair enough. I've seen some ghosts, but we play queen d2, so our opponent is plenty ahead here. Our opponent plays knight f3 check, which is correct. We play g takes, and then our opponent has to throw this check in now. Why does this work now? Here, king e2, and then queen f2 check, king d1, and queen takes f3, bishop here, knight f2 check, here, queen takes h1. Oh yeah, this is terrible. This is obviously bad for us. Luckily, our opponent does not do that, and our opponent just plays knight f2, so we get to put our rook here, which is a huge deal for us. Then our opponent plays bishop f5, and I have no clue what our opponent was thinking with bishop f5. Actually, I do know what my opponent was thinking. My opponent was thinking takes, and then queen takes, and now they're attacking this pawn, and apparently this is still better for white because I can play here. So here, bishop takes, and then this check. So if this happens, then this happens. But nonetheless, I could see my opponent was trying to undermine this knight, but I did not take the bait. Instead, I played d4 directly, just saying, hey, get out of here so I can take this knight. And my opponent, apparently their best move here to play knight takes e4, which I can take. We would see something like bishop takes maybe, and then takes here. This is not even the best line from the computer, but I'm still +6, +7 here. So really sharp. My opponent plays bishop e7. I trade here first, and then take this knight. And I expected my opponent to move this bishop back, like somewhere here, but instead my opponent castles straight away. So just not really understanding that they need to preserve their material. I mean, already, even before this move, I'm up a piece, even if they just like move back, right? So they're like, okay, well maybe I've got to play for king safety here. Although again, with this rook lined up, like, is this really the safer king? Like, I don't really know that this king is super safe either. So fair enough. They play castles. I play e takes f5, so now I'm up even more material. I think 2 bishops and 2 pawns. My opponent plays b4. I can just totally ignore that. I play f6, which is the best move according to the computer. There are several good moves. Queen g3 is also good, threatening mate. But f6 is good. Obviously, my opponent can't take here. If they go here, I'm taking the queen. So they move their queen, which is totally reasonable. But then check, and there's a mate in 5. So here, this check, here, check, here, check, because the bishop is defending. King goes here and checkmate, as I showed in the quick post-game analysis. But I play bishop d3, which is not the best move, but that's okay. And even if my opponent plays something like queen h3 here in order to defend, I can just win their queen, which is fine enough. I mean, I can go here, and my opponent's just getting rocked here, right? It's the same stuff. It's all the same mate. But lucky for me, my opponent plays here, and because the bishop is eyeing here, I just get to play the easy mate. So if we go and look at what the tail of the tape says here, so my accuracy was 67.6, which is not good, and I played 3 blunders, which you can see like really bumpy here, including I was totally losing here. But my opponent played 44.1, so it doesn't really matter that I wasn't playing super well, because if you play bad in Europe, it's always, you know, who plays better or who plays worse, right? So my opponent played not that well, so I didn't have to play that well, and it works out fine. All right, so directly after this, I had another game, and that'll come out in the next video. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Excited to have started out 1-for-1.